Naval Air Station Myrmke, March 1970, 12 noon exactly. The mess hall was already in full swing. 240 Marines, metal trays, organized chaos, the kind of noise that only exists when hundreds of men eat at the same time. Forks scraping against metal, boots shifting on hard floors, voices folding into one constant, low roar. The lights overhead cast everything in that flat gray-green glow, a calque that doesn't exist in nature, only in places built for function, never comfort. Nobody was there to feel at ease. Everyone was there to serve a role. It was a system, and every man inside understood his place within it. Then, at 12:07 p.m., something broke the pattern. A man walked through the main doors wearing civilian clothes. Button-down shirt, dark slacks, no uniform, no rank, no unit. And just like that, he didn't fit. Heads turned, not all together, but in slow waves, the kind of ripple that moves through a crowd when something foreign enters a familiar space. Most Marines glanced, then moved on. But some kept looking, because something about this man didn't just feel out of place. It felt deliberate. That man was Brusser Lee. He carried an empty tray, moving steadily through a room that ran on hierarchy, discipline, and unspoken rules. Every eye that stayed on him was asking the same silent question. Why is he here? But he didn't rush, didn't hesitate, didn't shrink. He moved through that space the way some people move through every space, like they belong, even when the room wasn't built for them. He joined the food line, waited like everyone else, took the same meal, no explanation offered, no special treatment requested, just quiet, steady presence. But the room was paying closer attention now, because in a place where uniformity is the expectation, difference becomes a signal, and signals draw eyes. Here's something most people never think about until it's too late. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like you were being watched, sized up, tested before you even said a word? That feeling isn't paranoia, it's real, and what happens next, how you carry yourself in that moment, changes everything. What Brusser Lee did next is something most people spend their whole lives never learning. At one of the long tables sat Corporal James Mitchell, 24 years old, 3 years in the Marine Corps, long enough to learn the rules, long enough to start believing he had power within them. He noticed Brusser Lee immediately, took in the civilian clothes, the posture, the calm, and something shifted inside him. First, irritation, then what he thought was opportunity. In places like this, respect isn't something quietly earned, it's publicly enforced. Mitchell had built his standing the way many do, by pushing where he expected no pushback. And right now, a civilian out of place, searching for a seat, looked like an easy target. He leaned toward his table, said something low, something meant to dismiss. A few heads turned, a few smiles spread. Then Mitchell stood, slow and deliberate, with the ease of someone who had done this before and never faced consequences. Across the room, Brusser Lee was scanning for an open seat, focused, completely unaware he had just become the subject of someone else's decision. Two paths moving toward each other, one driven by control, one shaped by assumption. And when they met, 240 Marines were about to see something no training manual had ever prepared them for. It happened fast, too fast for most people to fully process in the moment. Brusser Lee stepped between two passing Marines, tray balanced, eyes forward, and then a hard shove from behind. Not accidental, not subtle, deliberate. The kind of force meant to send someone down face first with no chance to recover. And for a fraction of a second, it looked like it had worked. The tray tilted, food shifted, balance broke. Everyone expected the fall. It never came. Brusser Lee's body adjusted in ways that most people can't even consciously register. Weight redistributed, knees softened slightly, core engaged. Instead of crashing forward, he stabilized, tray level, food untouched, footing restored. And then he turned slowly with no anger on his face, no alarm, just a steady, quiet awareness. Standing 3 feet back was Corporal Mitchell, wearing a smile that said he thought he had already won. The noise in the room dropped several levels, not silence yet, but close, because something had started and everyone present could feel it. Mitchell spoke first. Watch where you're going, civilian, not an apology, a reframe. a statement designed to make the target look responsible for what had just been done to him, and Brusser Lee said nothing. He simply looked, calm, observing, still. That silence, Mitchell read it as weakness, and when a man believes he holds the advantage, he almost always pushes further. He closed the distance. "You don't belong here." Louder now, Maury of the room turning, Maury wait behind the words. Brusser Lee answered clearly, "I was invited by your commander." That should have stopped everything. It didn't, because Mitchell had gone too far to reverse course without losing the image he had been protecting. So he kept going. He laughed. Invited for what? To cook. There it was, not just dominance now, disrespect, a line that everyone watching recognized had just been crossed. Brusser Lee remained steady. For a demonstration, martial arts. Mitchell's smirk sharpened. Demonstration of what? Chopsticks. Think about that for a second. Have you ever been in a situation where someone publicly dismissed you and every instinct told you to either explode or disappear? Most people do one or the other. Very few people do what Brusser Lee did next, because real confidence doesn't perform. It doesn't need to. He set his tray down, carefully, quietly, deliberately, hands free now, not aggressive, not theatrical, just ready. And for the first time, the energy in that room shifted. Mitchell stepped in close, pressing a finger into Brusser Lee's chest. "This is the Marine Corps. We are real fighters here." Silence had spread to nearly every corner of the mess hall. Brusser Lee looked down at the finger, then back up. "I respect Marines. Please step back." That single word, please, changed the weight of everything, because it wasn't weakness. It was an offer, a way out, extended with full dignity, and everyone in that room felt what it meant. This could end cleanly, right now. No one had to lose anything. Mitchell didn't take it, or what? Laughter from behind him, the worst kind of fuel. Brusser Lee's voice dropped. "I am asking you to step back. This is your last chance." Some Marines shifted, because now they recognized what Mitchell apparently didn't. This wasn't a conversation anymore. "Last chance," Mitchell said. "You threatening me?" And he shoved again, harder, full intent. Brusser Lee moved, but not backward. The force was absorbed through his structure, dispersed, neutralized. Mitchell's expression changed. Something felt wrong, but his body had already committed to the next move. Both hands forward, full force. He closed on empty air. In the same moment, Bruce Lee stepped slightly offline, a shift so small most people missed it. One hand redirected Mitchell's wrist, not with force, just with precise timing. His leg swept low, targeting the ankle at the exact point of maximum instability. Mitchell's body had no framework to absorb what happened. His back hit the floor hard, loud, and final. 6 seconds, that was the total time. The mess hall went completely still. 240 men, absolute silence, because what they had just watched didn't match anything they understood about how strength was supposed to work. A smaller man, no visible aggression, no wasted movement, had put a trained Marine on the ground without appearing to try. And in that silence, something quietly shifted inside every person watching. Not just their perception of Bruce Lee, but their understanding of what power actually is. At 12:14 p.m., the side door opened. Commander William Hayes, 22 years in the Marine Corps, a man who could read a room without a single word being spoken. He took in the scene, Mitchell on the floor, Bruce Lee standing calmly, 240 Marines watching in silence. He understood exactly what had happened. He stepped forward. "Mr. Lee, I apologize." Bruce Lee gave a slight nod. No apology necessary, a misunderstanding. No anger, no satisfaction, just composure. Hayes turned to Mitchell. "Do you understand what you've done?" Mitchell, still catching his breath, still sitting on the floor. "Sir, I didn't know." "You didn't ask." Immediate, sharp, because in front of 240 witnesses, no explanation softens the truth. Hayes stepped closer. "You assumed, and your assumption put you on the floor." Every word carried, not just to Mitchell, but to everyone in earshot. "The demonstration is at 1400. You will attend, front row." That wasn't punishment. That was something Mitchell would remember far longer. It was a requirement to understand. By 1400 hours, the gym held nearly 400 Marines. Word had moved faster than anyone authorized it to. A civilian dropped a trained Marine in 6 seconds in the middle of the mess hall. Some came curious. Some came skeptical. Some came convinced it had to have been luck. Front row, Corporal Mitchell, exactly where he was told to be. Commander Hayes addressed the room before anyone moved. "You will pay attention." 3 words, nothing else needed. Bruce Lee walked onto the mat. Black uniform, barefoot. The room settled into that same particular silence from before, not confusion this time, expectation. He looked across the crowd. "I need a volunteer." Then his gaze found Mitchell. "Corporal Mitchell, please join me." Mitchell stood, walked forward. Because this time it wasn't about pride. Something else was operating now. "Attack me," Bruce Lee said. "No rules, no restrictions." Mitchell moved, fast, trained, committed, and then he missed. Again and again. 7 attempts, 7 clean failures. Each time Bruce Lee wasn't where the strike landed. He didn't block, didn't counter aggressively. He simply relocated, always a half step ahead, always precisely where the attack wasn't. And each time Mitchell left an opening, Bruce Lee made contact. A touch to the shoulder, a tap to the back, a light brush against the side of the head. Not strikes, reminders, each one carrying the same unspoken message: that could have ended you. When it was over, Mitchell was breathing hard. Bruce Lee was not. "Thank you," Bruce Lee said, quietly. No performance, no moment taken for satisfaction, just acknowledgement. For the next 90 minutes, 400 Marines watched everything they believed about combat, about strength, about what it means to be a fighter, get quietly dismantled and rebuilt from the ground up. When it finished, 5 full seconds of silence, and then applause, not polite applause, the kind that fills a space completely, that comes from something genuinely shifted inside the people giving it. Nobody walking out of that gym that afternoon was talking about size. Nobody mentioned aggression or bravado. They talked about control, about precision, about the kind of respect that doesn't need to announce itself. And Corporal Mitchell carried what happened that day for the rest of his life, not as embarrassment, eventually, but as the clearest lesson he ever received. Because the fights that stay with you aren't always the ones where you win. Sometimes the ones that change you are the ones where you finally understand what you were actually measuring yourself against. On that afternoon in a Marine Corps gym in Miramar, Bruce Lee didn't just walk away from a confrontation. He walked 400 trained fighters into a completely different understanding of what strength actually looks like. And that, more than anything that happened on the mess hall floor, is what none of them ever forgot.